Hello and welcome back to Paper Traders, a show where two average Joes try to beat the market. I am one of your hosts here, Eric, and I'm here with Danny, and we are here today to basically kind of just go over and review what we've had going on in the last couple weeks. I mean, we had Nina here, we had Dave Boren here. We went over our ETFs and marijuana and everything else that's kind of constantly going on in the news here in the background. So we kind of figured today, instead of going and having another guest on to go and just throw more information at us, which again isn't really a big problem, only because of the fact that it's YouTube. You can always go back and look at it again.
But you got to digest the information a little bit. You know what I mean? It's a lot to take in, especially with kind of diving into a lot of these topics. They can get a little confusing. I know ETFs personally, there's a lot more going on than with just like a stock offers. So you got to really do your research, and having them on was, really helpful. So if you didn't check them out, go back, stop this episode right now, and go
or
back.
Don't sit here and stay with us and watch us live, because that's what we're here for. We want to get your questions in. That way, if you guys have anything that we want us to bounce off of these people that were here, because you watch the shows and you have a burning question in the back of your mind that you just can't have to have answered.
Burning desires.
Right. We need to make sure that we can get that, and we only get that really through the live conversation. I mean, obviously, if you guys put comments in, we'll get those to the same editors and have them answer them as well. But don't forget, we are live, so like, subscribe, and make sure to leave a comment and tell us that you just want us to quit this altogether. I mean, tell us something, because we know people are watching.
Yeah, and I kind of liked how you said that. We can exactly be your extension to the Zacks family here. I know you guys probably have a lot of questions, so send them on over. Don't be shy.
Even if they're about our products, too.
Yeah.
We have a ton of products available.
Yeah, and you can always send us an email at podcast@zacks.com if you're not here live joining us. Obviously, YouTube comments, all that good stuff.
I think you meant papertraders@zacks.com.
Oh, is it Paper Traders?
Yeah, it's Paper Traders.
Oh, wow.
Zacks.com.
Well, we do have a podcast at Zacks.com, too.
For those that
don't
know, we have podcasts. We have podcasts as well. So
yeah.
But today I guess we're just kind of gonna go over whatever we went over the last couple of weeks, which is like a ton of stuff. So
that, and the market's kind of up in arms with the same old. We'll obviously touch on that, but I think, is that a good? Yeah. Let's start on the sad news. I feel like China has been on the forefront of everybody's mind.
I think that's actually a really good topic right now today, because I feel with everything that's currently going on with the whole Hong Kong deal, and then you have, I'm going to look this up. I can't remember. There's some Chinese gamer who got banned for a year for showing his support for the Hong Kong protests, and he's part of like Blizzard, I want to say.
Oh, wow. Oh, he must have been doing some, there's a lot of Blizzard games. There's like StarCraft, World of Warcraft.
What's the big one, though? He won like a recent one.
League of Legends?
I think it is League of Legends. I'm going to look it up right now. But yeah,
because League of Legends is literally like the biggest gaming esports thing right now.
This is like a really big deal.
Oh, it's huge. I think I was reading an article weeks back that said that more people tuned in to watch League of Legends final like playoff thing. I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar, but they have like a big playoff and then a tournament. More people tuned into that than the Super Bowl. So,
well, I mean, it's global.
Well, I mean,
like, let's
football,
be honest.
But...
Like, no, not really though. I mean, like, how many people in Angola are watching American football?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to assume that American football is a pretty localized sport. Like, we keep trying to push it on the rest of the world, and the rest of the world's like, why do we want this?
Well, I mean, I think this is a perfect kind of segue. Speaking of these sports in China and all this Hong Kong kind of debacle that's going on, had the Houston Rockets manager came out and had some questionable things to say in lieu of what's going on in Hong Kong. He basically came out and was in agreement with the protest against what's going on. So China came back and was basically very against what was said, and basically what happened was all sponsorships have been pulled almost.
Well, they went and they pulled the games, the preseason games that are currently going on. There's going to be a game in Shanghai next week.
Yeah,
they refuse to air it.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, so just kind of as a reference, 25 companies sponsor the NBA on the Chinese website that they have. 13 of those are Chinese. 11 of those Chinese companies have pulled all ties from being sponsorships with them. So it goes to show the impact that comment had going forward. And then Yeah, it came into a whole slew of things. South Park came out with an
Oh, the South
episode.
Park episode was so good.
They weren't happy. They pulled South Park off.
And
so,
they threatened him too. They even said, "You think that was bad? Wait until you see next week's episode." So
Yeah.
South Park's taking this on. I'm super excited about this whole thing.
Yeah, so it's not just trade war stuff going on. It's a lot more than that. I feel like.
Danny, you have my computer up?
Yeah, I can bring
All
it
right,
up.
good. Because you can see this is actually on Market Watch right now. So Blizzard suspends e-gamer for Hong Kong comment. So this guy, as you can see in the picture, he was wearing a mask. And at the very end of his stream, he pulled it out and said, like, some pro Hong Kong stuff. Like, it's going to be, I bet you have the quote. He said, like, this is going to be the, like, day
go
of
ahead and
our-
tell us, because we can't see your screen right now.
Oh,
so.
you can't pull it up right now? Okay.
Nah, it's okay, though.
Well, in short, this guy was wearing like a mask, like a gas mask, kind of like the Hong Kong protesters are, with the ski goggles on and everything. And he, at the end of his stream, pulled off his mask. I'm trying to find the quote in here. They don't seem to have it. But in short, he basically said, I stand with Hong Kong, and this is the revolution of our generation.
Wow.
And I was like, heck yeah, good for this guy. But immediately, apparently, the interview he was on, the people are of some sort of Asian descent. It says from Taipei. Isn't Taipei Taiwan?
I'm not 100%, and I don't want to.
I don't want to
jump to
generalize.
conclusions,
Yeah. Either way, it says it's live from Taipei. So either way, they kind of immediately like looked down and were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
did he just say that?"
Well, I mean, you know what? Their way of doing things in the government has been, in place for a very long time. It's
Questionable.
It's
The
it's been
Hong Kong thing is questionable. They only
Right.
took over that territory in 1997.
right, but I mean, it's something that's in their culture, and for us, I feel to butt in, especially as a CEO, it maybe, or I'm sorry, a manager of a basketball team, maybe should have kept his mouth maybe a little bit more closed on a subject like
I'm going
that.
to applaud the NBA for putting their foot down and not allowing the big China scare happen where they can't
Well,
get into that market if they don't follow their rules.
If that's the route they wanted to go, which I don't think it is, the NBA came out and was very apologetic towards the comments that were
They
made.
basically said, if you don't like it, too bad. We have freedom of speech here, and we're not going to punish this manager/owner for having his own opinions. Which, again,
No, but
yes, I applaud you, sir.
no, but I mean, as a
applaud you.
business standpoint, it's a huge
was
deal,
probably a
and
poor-
it hurts their sponsorships big. Like I said,
I got a feeling this is going
13
to
of
blow
those
up in the
companies-
opposite direction. I got a feeling that in terms of the demand for the basketball games in China, I got a feeling that it's going to be huge. I think that this idea of it, I think it's going to work against the Chinese. This is kind of like back in like the 90s, bring back the 90s again, when Hillary Clinton was out against video games. Oh, video games kill people, this and that. I remember specifically because I'm a Rockstar fan. She was against GTA.
I have such a good story on that later on too.
It made that game such a huge success.
Yeah.
Just such a huge success. Same thing with hip hop. They tried to demonize hip hop. Hip hop blew up on the charts. It was basically just free advertising, and I feel like this is going to work the same way.
We'll definitely see. I mean, there is a huge population of China that loves basketball. They have a huge support over there. So
the
I'm
reason the
curious
NBA is
on,
there to play games.
Yeah, and I'm curious on how kind of the public there will react to not being able to get access to their favorite basketball that they get to
I'm
watch.
more wondering if we're going to actually even find out how the public feels because China's going to put it on lockdown. I read somewhere this morning that China's to use the internet, they're going to make you use facial recognition software.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's definitely something that is on the front of everybody's mind, especially with the sports. I mean, a lot of sports comes hand in heart.
Segue here. Speaking of facial recognition software, didn't Trump ban 8 companies and their Chinese recognition software from the United States?
China news. On Monday, he banned 8 companies. 2 of them are one of the biggest video surveillance. They basically account for 1/3 of all the companies that do video surveillance. And then they did, what was the company called? I can't find it right now.
You need to look it up?
Yeah, if you could. The company that does AI, it's basically a company that's looking for startup right now. They're looking to raise over $1 billion. So that puts them in that unicorn territory.
It's a startup, you said?
Yeah, it's an AI startup, one of the most valued startups right now for AI, and they got banned. So it was one of those things that came out, and we have those trade talks coming up this Thursday. It wasn't a good look for the trade deal coming into fruition, or even a partial trade deal.
Well, this is a Reuters article, so this has got to have the company in it that you're talking about. I just need a second here to find it. 20 public security bureaus. Is it Hikvision?
I think it was like Sense something.
It's Hikvision,
SenseTime.
SenseTime Group, and MegV Technology.
Yeah.
Those
So
are the big ones.
Hikvision was the video surveillance, and SenseTime is the AI startup, which again is looking to start funds for over $1 billion, which is very big.
I'm going to once again clap for this decision because honestly, I kind of feel like I don't want to be in a police state.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason was it looks like human rights issues, something.
Well, and they've proven time and time again that, trying to do preventative policing doesn't work.
Yeah.
A lot of innocent people end up getting in trouble and getting hurt because of it. So I feel like it's a good move to ban that stuff because it's not proven to really be functional.
Yeah, and I don't know how beneficial this is going to be because the timing was pretty poor in my opinion. The trade talks are coming up. China did come out the other day and said, "Hey, we're open to a partial trade deal here. We'd love to at least start."
Yeah, here we'll buy some
of
your soybeans. Is that going to placate you well enough to play?
Well,
no, sorry, China. I don't think it will.
We'll see what the partial trade deal encompasses, but they did say that they will start to buy more agriculture, and that if no deal was to come on, we will have more tariffs basically be hitting China, which is again another no-no in my opinion. It will jump from the $250 billion, of goods that are currently being tariffed at 25% will be tariffed at 30%. So it's a big jump. That 5% on billions is obviously a big jump. So.
I don't know. I haven't heard about this in the news, and if it's still even an issue. But are they still getting that holiday reprieve?
I believe so. No. I believe that was kind of one of those things that Trump did to help out our holiday shopping season and stuff.
Yeah, I just knew there was a built-in, baked-in, I guess you could say, holiday reprieve that was going to happen. So it's like, what's the point of these tariffs if you're just like, oh, well, here's a break?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing is very confusing to me because, if one day we're like, oh, we're never going to get a trade deal, and then Trump and China are like, hey, we're open to a trade deal.
Yeah,
and
they
it
all
looks
say,
good,
yeah.
and they put their thumbs up in the news. But then,
right.
The next day
Good
after
job,
the meeting, it's like, nah, nothing happened. So I feel like we've been running in circles for the past year, and as it's shown in the market the past couple of days,
I'm calling it right
investors
here.
are very worried and just not very confident in what's going on.
I'm going to call it right now. I'm just going to say when it comes to investors, we shouldn't even be really paying attention. Well, I mean, you have to, I guess, because it's China. But in terms of this trade deal,
affecting the economy.
There is no way that this is going to get settled before 2020, the election. There's no way.
I mean, we've said this before. We had John Blank on the podcast talking in depth about how this type of situation can kind of be resolved. He gave a bunch of different reasons.
Scenarios,
Please go back and check those out. He'll give you a much better description than I could. But we'll see if any of those can come into play. But yeah, like you said, 2020 elections more along the lines of what we probably will see, depending on what happens with the outcome of this election. So there's a lot riding on the next year. I mean, we still have a lot of time to sit through this volatile market. I don't feel like we're going to see much of a forward push without some back and forth with this type of news that will constantly be coming out.
Yeah, China is just biding their time, basically. Biden. They're just yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah, you're tooting your own horn on that joke right there.
It just came to me anyway. But they're just biding their time until they figure out who's going to be the softer guy, who's going to come to power. They know that Trump is going to stand hard and he's not going to budge on this until he gets his way. And I personally don't think he will either. Whether he should or shouldn't is beside the point. We're not the ones in control. But China's basically just going to wait, hoping that a Democrat comes in and is going to be soft on China and want to be able to be more comprehensive about how this works out. I don't think there's going to be any rush in the next year to kind of settle this.
Yeah, we'll see if people want to, go back to the way things were. Big question mark there, because I don't know. I would love to know how people feel about the way things are going about to kind of combat the intellectual property
Well, yeah,
issues.
I'd say that's
And
the biggest thing on that whole argument is the intellectual property issue part.
right,
Like, I
and
mean, if you go and design something and spend the money on R&D here in the States, and then they can just go and mass produce it and basically copy it, I mean, what's the point,
right,
right?
and I'm no economist, but I just feel like there is probably better ways to going about this situation. And I just threw the mic in my face. But
Eat it, Danny.
yeah, so I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it is going to go on for another couple years or so. So
At least a year, at the very
yeah.
least a year.
Unfortunately, yeah, the Chinese news continues to take over our headlines, and it's
Well, I mean, it's again the global economy. We're all tied to each other in some way, shape, or form. You know, we're either importing or exporting or having labor here or there or somewhere else that's going around. So, I mean, there's no more of that idea of we're, locally based anymore. You've got manufacturers all over the world that are all teaming together to make products that we all consume. I mean, I'm sure if I grabbed anything in this room, it probably came from 3 different places at the very least.
yeah,
And that's including the materials and the manufacturing and the distribution and everything else. So, I mean, the idea of being centralized and being nationalist is kind of, I don't want to say nationalism is silly because, I mean, obviously you don't want to just give up the goat and be like, hey, let's
Yeah.
just do whatever it takes.
yeah.
But the idea of being, so centralized that you can control all aspects is just impossible now, I feel.
Yeah. And to kind of give, I guess, a little bit of a lighter note.
Yeah, we're getting
And
super
most
serious.
most people won't find this as a win, but I thought I would bring it up with all of this kind of uncertainty and trade war talks and all the bad news coming from China.
The uncertainty is killing me.
Yeah. But on Monday, we had a deal struck with Japan where we have now reduced tariffs coming from there on $7 billion in U.S. agriculture. And it's giving U.S. farmers access to the Japan market again. So, I mean, that was a step forward. Again, it's not a huge amount of money.
It's beans, Danny.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we have to take wins where we can get them, I think, sometimes, and we get lost in the. I don't want to say big picture because it's always a good idea to look forward at the big picture, but getting lost in it and the small details sometimes get overlooked.
Yeah.
And I feel like the small win, in my opinion, is good. Again, $7 billion versus the $250 billion in China tariffs isn't huge, but again, I think a step in the right direction, especially for the U.S. agriculture, which
has been hurting.
Yeah, they're the ones taking the huge hit with all these tariffs and stuff going on, and China not buying pretty much anything from us at this point.
Well, that's going to change. I understand that there's now a swine flu that's going through China, so they're going to end up having to go into their swine pork barrels stocks. So that's crazy too. So they're going to be doing some buying sooner or later, which again goes to that point of you can't just survive alone in this world anymore.
Yeah, we'll tell that. No, I don't want to get too crazy, but North Korea is kind of cut off, so I don't.
Yeah, and
they're self-sustainable, so I mean, someone's doing it.
Well, let's be honest, we don't have much information coming out of North
No,
Korea.
and
really
I just threw
ever.
that out as a.
But I would agree with.
a note.
I would say yes, they are self-sustaining to some extent.
Yeah,
but
from what we know.
yeah, I mean, we know that there's other countries that deal businesses with, like Russia.
Yeah, but we
Russia deals with.
We won't get into that. That's
right. This is getting
another rabbit hole. But
yeah,
let's go on a lighter note and kind of switch gears. This is totally in left field, but I thought it was a little hilarious in my opinion. Other people might feel completely different and agree with this, but
I'm only laughing at myself today, so hopefully somebody laughs with you.
Well, okay, so there is 2 Canadian parents who are now deciding to sue Epic Games, which is the producer of the most popular game right now, Fortnite.
Ooh.
And the reason they are suing them is because their children are quote unquote addicted to the game, and that Fortnite did not properly warn them about the addiction that they could
Okay, this
form.
is stupid. This is like when they have like do not eat labeling on like
But this
scissors.
is a real thing. So basically, the lawyers are saying that, and this is a quote, the defendants used the same tactics as the creators of slot machines or variable reward programs to ensure the dependence of its users, the brain being manipulated to always want more. basically saying that and they went on to quote that when they're playing this game, dopamines are being released
Well,
in
yeah,
your
because you
brain.
like playing.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. It's
You
like,
could literally do that with anything that you like to do.
yeah,
You
people
could
get
say, like,
runner's high, and
right, you could
there's
say I'm addicted to running, so I'm going to sue Adidas because my shoes were just too good.
my back hurts now
My
because I
shoes were
ran too much.
amazing. No, it'd be the opposite. You'd be like, oh, my shoes were amazing. They worked exactly as they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, dang you, Adidas. That McDonald's, your burgers were too delicious and I got fat. I hate
so
that argument.
I thought it was funny and it just a little bit lighter of a note. And again, I might be the only one who finds this kind of odd that parents are suing a company for having their children being addicted.
Well, surprisingly, it's a Canadian family.
Yeah, well, it's two
and-
Canadians, and
yeah.
they're going by anonymous names. They went by initials for obvious reasons. They don't want to get attacked by the
Get laughed at.
enormous.
Yeah.
You have like 250,000 people playing this game, so if you could imagine the backlash you could have, wouldn't be fun as a parent.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is going to go very far. And on top of that, the Canadian system is different than the United States system. If you fail in the Canadian system, you have to pay the fees of who you're suing.
Yeah.
So they must really think they have a rock solid case here. But this is
Well,
kind of.
I don't know because they say here, and I don't know if this is true or not. I
Who's
mean,
your
it could
source?
be.
Quote your source.
Well, I'm reading U.S. Today right now, and these are quotes from the
It's fake news.
from the lawyer. Saying that Fortnite was developed by psychologists, statisticians, sorry, that is a mouthful for me, and others over 4 years to develop a game, an addictive game. So basically, they're
come
saying that they
on.
used very specific tactics to create the most addictive game ever.
Oh, okay. So they found
Which-
they found things that people like in games, like action and color and winning. And they think that
I-
took 4 years to develop. They don't think it just took 4 years to just develop the actual game.
Well, like, I don't know. I mean, they might have employed some,
sure they
mathematicians and
did.
stuff to figure out,
I could-
hey, where's my demographic and what's the best way of really hitting this,
Yeah,
home?
of
So, I
course.
mean, I can't
That's what
imagine
research
that
groups do.
their
That's
marketing team wasn't involved with that, but at the same time, I can't imagine them going and, like, that was their main goal.
I feel like that's like another duh thing. I
Yeah.
mean, corporations and companies do that all the time. Like if you're a soda company, you figure out how much sugar to put in there. So you have a bunch of people sitting in a room and you keep adding sugar to the soda until somebody goes, "Ooh, that's too sweet."
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh, that's the perfect amount of sugar that we need right there. Let's go with that." Like it's silly. Of course they go and they had people testing it and made sure that people loved it. Like
Right.
who's gonna buy a game nobody wants to play? Like, oh, that game was
Yeah,
awful. You
that's
got to get it.
That's why I thought it was funny. So,
Yeah.
on a lighter note, from all the
Hilarious.
Chinese uproar and the U.S. trade war and all the stuff that everybody's not happy about, I thought I'd bring a little bit of a lighter note that because I'm sure you have your own kids playing the game, if not yourself.
I'm going to do a PSA. Remember, folks, don't eat your computer while watching our show. It could be hazardous to your health.
So, I think on that note, it's a good time to kind of jump into our
Oh, it's time to go to the battleground?
battleground. Are you ready for the battleground?
Let's go.
All right. Oh wait, it's not.
Oh,
There we go.
oh, we got a misfire.
Oh, it's playing.
All right, so battleground time. We've kind of talked about this a little bit pre-show, and we've kind of noticed that we're not doing much action in here. And the reason we kind of feel like we should explain this is because we're not day trading, folks.
Yeah, I mean that's a very important thing to remember. I mean, we're not sitting here every other day making sure to make a specific trade. We're looking more in the long term and finding companies that we believe in will continue to grow and make bigger decisions for their clientele base to obviously.
We're looking for long-term winners.
Yeah, there
We
you
want to
go.
make sure
A
that
little Warren Buffett.
right. You want to make sure that you're getting something that you can hold on to and down the line cash out and buy a new car or get into a down payment for a home. I mean, we're not making quick, short moves just on, what's currently happening in the market today. I feel like that's a very dangerous game to play unless you know what you're doing or you're educated in it or you've studied it enough in your free time to actually feel comfortable doing it. And if you're going to do that, it is a full-time gig. Like, you got to be watching the news. You got to be on top of every single earnings thing that comes
Yeah,
out.
and it also depends on how big your portfolio is.
Right.
If you have 3 stocks that you're watching, obviously you can be a little bit more manageable to kind of be on it every other day, kind of get in and out if you'd like. But we want to build a bigger portfolio here that can kind of not sit on autopilot, but one that if the market kind of goes haywire on us, we're not having to
We're not that
jump on our
worried.
whim where we're like, oh my god, we have to get out of the
Right.
market. We're not playing that game. So yeah, but on that note, I feel like we should touch on some of the stocks that we have and kind of see where they are at this point.
Do we have visual yet, Danny?
We don't. I'm having a little trouble on my computer. Unfortunately, we didn't get Eric's computer to jump up.
I'm gonna try to reboot it here.
But
Maybe the connection will come back.
I do have a story I wanted to touch on that has to do with Square. It's kind of very relevant, actually. Square is one of the companies that we owned.
Didn't they just come out with something with Tile?
No, so this is a little kind of different than that completely, actually.
Oh, really?
So it's one of those stocks that we bought uppers of, I believe, the 69-ish.
I'm looking it up for you right now.
And it did get hit. It's below the $60 range, I think, from what I can remember.
You're up today.
We're up today, and that due to that, we might be seeing that because they came out with a story, or not a story, but a beta where they can now have companies process CBD purchases. That was a big thing. They weren't
Really?
Yeah, so they weren't doing any purchasing for any company
Oh,
for hemp or CBD.
So this
oil.
goes to that thing that we were talking about with Bourne, how the banks are starting to open it up a little bit.
So they are the first company as a mobile payment processing to actually open up the doors to this.
Are you sure it's CBD and not THC products?
No, it's CBD products. THC products I can't touch yet due to all the still regulatory on the federal level.
I'm super surprised that was a move that was such a big deal to them, only because the fact that CBD is federally legal. I can go down to a tobacco shop and buy it.
For them to be the first one to kind of open the doors shows that I think a lot of people are still kind of worried about how to deal with it because it is such a sticky business. I mean, yeah, okay, I didn't even catch on to that. But I mean, it's a huge deal. I think it's them opening up more avenues for their clientele, and for them to kind of set the pace for it, I think is a great way to really grow their business. So we'll see how it goes. It's on a beta. They're basically opening it up to very specific people, not to everyone, to see kind of how it goes. So you might see some uptick there in Square due to that news. It was kind of hidden. It wasn't really launched, loud and proud, should you say?
Yeah, I didn't really hear much about it. I'm actually reading the Forbes story right now.
Yeah, so it was pretty quietly released, I think on purpose, because cannabis has been kind of hit lately in the stock market, and they don't want to be directly associated with that. Because I feel like David said last week, once you put marijuana in your business, it's like you're directly associated with that. So you get hit pretty hard if the marijuana industry is getting hit hard. So I think they were trying to separate themselves. And I
actually have an explanation here that talks about why the CBD thing is. So again, looking at it from Forbes, it says, although hemp and its derivatives, including CBD, were federally legalized under the Farm Bill signed into law by President Donald Trump late last year, many financial institutions have remained wary of working with companies selling the cannabis compound. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives
we're
both a hard time talking today.
Jeez.
Overwhelmingly approved a bill last week that would protect banks that work with state legal marijuana businesses from being punished by federal regulators. So that kind of explains it. It's kind of strange, though. I kind of would have figured since the federal government said, hey, go for it, nobody would have been pulling punches.
Yeah, I think as a big company, they don't want to take those unnecessary risks that can hit them hard in the long term. So they kind of take baby steps to see, hey, can we do this? So that's, I think, why they're even doing it in beta, where they're just like, hey, we're going to offer some of our customers, not everyone. So we're not opening our doors completely. We're just kind of cracking them open and letting some in.
So we got a message here, Danny, from Mike Peters coming from YouTube.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome, Mike. Glad you could be with us. He says, what do you guys think of Moi Tan Jianping? I don't know if I mispronounced that. I'm assuming I read it properly, but is it a real Cinderella or a unicorn? To be honest with you, Mike, if you could send us a ticker for it, that would be really useful, because I don't think I can be able to find that one. Let's take a look at it through Yahoo. Maybe I can get a quick ticker out of it. Because, yeah, that sounds like a Chinese company, and our coverage of some Chinese firms isn't.
Yeah, sometimes it's far and few between due to the analyst coverage. So sometimes you don't always have a rank with those types of companies, but we'll check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a ticker, yeah, we'd love to see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it now, but oh, he's got it. OTC MPNGF. I am gonna assume that we don't have that one available, but how about toss it in for you, Mike, and we'll see what we got.
No, and I'm looking
Let's
now.
start the timer. Oh, didn't work. Oh, there we go. I'm having too much fun with this today, I think. It will go.
There you go.
It's not holding.
You gotta loop it, brother.
I just either way, you guys know what I'm trying to do.
Bing, bong,
I'm
bing,
being very slow about it.
But anyways, I wanted to also touch on some of our other holdings. We have Disney in the portfolio,
which is launching next month.
Launching next month. It is down a tad bit, down to 128.80 today. But again, this is a big company with a lot of moves coming forward in the next couple years. So it's not one that you're going to be jumping ship if it starts to go down a little bit.
Jumping off that one.
And then
they even announced that they're taking all Netflix advertising off of all of their Disney platforms. That's ABC, that's their streaming services that they currently have. I'm sure Hulu's now pulled those ads.
Yeah. And look, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of streaming because we've done this, but we can do it another time. But I feel like Netflix is going to have some rough times ahead of them. They're going to have to figure out something where scheduling and releasing needs to be a little different. I think the whole binge watching can really hurt a business if, you release something that you've put millions and millions of dollars into and somebody can watch it within, I don't know, a week. A lot of people do that. So I don't know. It's a weird business model that I feel like, because I heard Disney's going to be rolling things out kind of on a different scheduling basis. More like a TV schedule or on a weekly thing. So we'll see how they adapt in the streaming market. There's a lot going on. Peacock's coming out. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy industry right now.
So yeah, I just pulled this up, and there's a lot of information here, and it is an OTC, so I'd have to really send this off to somebody else. So Mike, it looks like somebody did ping in there for you and said, that it's not to trade it, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to send this to one of our guys, and on our next show, we'll come back and address it, or we'll put it in the comments below so you can understand what's going on. But
again, we're an extension to the Zacks editors and whoever you'd kind of like to get some questions to. That's what we're here for. We're here to kind of help figure things out together. This is all a learning experience for everybody here, so it's just fun to kind of dive through all these stories sometimes. And I mean, everything's so connected to the global market and the stocks, and I don't know, you just kind of get wrapped into it sometimes.
So Mike, with that, I'm going to say that, if you really believe the story, which is how most people trade, and they've got some good things in the pipeline coming up, and, you think they're going to do well, then I see that you said that you invest, you don't trade. I'd say if you really believe in it, trade it. Don't take that based on what I looked at first off here. I will talk to you further about it later on. But yeah, for that, if you really do believe in it and you're going to long-term trade it, I'd say go for it. All right, so guys, with that, I think we're going to call it a day. We're going to have a new guest on with us next week. I don't think we have a name yet, but seeing as everything's kind of still going on globally, maybe we'll bring John Blank back because he's always exciting to talk to.
Yeah, he always is the big picture guy. So having a big picture guy in the conversation is always nice.
So you guys, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I say welcome to our new guest. Hopefully we gave you some interesting information. I would encourage you to go back through our archive and take a look at some of the conversations we've had with some of our private.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much good evergreen content that's living there to help you learn how to use the stock market and the tools that we have available. Please go through them all. I mean, I would go through them if I didn't do the episodes myself and learn.
And if you are looking for a great tool to use, I suggest you take a look at Zacks Ultimate, which is our all-encompassing product here at Zacks, which has all our investing portfolios available to you. So with that, guys, we will see you next week, and happy trading.
Peace.